Hello! Hello out there. Hope everybody's doing well. We're here on Monday. I almost wonder if we shouldn't, we've tried twice now to do this on Friday and have been doing it on Monday. So I don't know if this is a regular Monday thing or if it's a Friday thing that's been delayed twice, but it's us talking about the Mandalorian.
Happens again at 3 times, it's a pattern, and it's officially a Monday thing.
Okay, so we'll see. This week will be the determining week as to what happens with the rest of these streams. When I watched this, because I didn't work this Friday, so it was a rare time where I got to watch it, I think, before you did, and I just texted you, you need to be ready for this episode.
I remember I actually woke up to that text because I slept in, and then I was like, I guess I have to watch this before I go to work now. And then 1 minute and 20 seconds in, I was like, I completely get it. This text makes a lot of sense now.
I was like, you need to be ready for what we're about to do. I just realized I didn't tweet out the stream. So we can keep talking, but I'm going to be rude and tweet while we talk. But I just shared it on
mean, 2.5 seconds later, I'm going to be rude and get on my phone and retweet it.
So there we go. We'll just be two rude people and be like, we are live with... There we go. Talking Mando. Is a link. Okay. But no, this was great. Let's just start with Pedro's story.
Oh my god.
Which was everything. Just everything.
It was complete. And the funny thing was, so he was going through all the stuff he did, and he was like, I was in China, and I was like, yeah, there's a lot of stunts in the Great Wall. He was like, South America. I was like, you did do a lot of dangerous thing in Narcos.
Yep.
It was like the Matthew Vaughn movie. I was like, Kingsman, that's a whole wild movie in itself. And then he was like, and then I ran into some plywood. And I was like, sorry. How?
And and the best part was he already had the makeup on for being all beat up, and that was so good. And so they were oh, it was so funny. And then no one was sure where the makeup started and where the
injury. Sad that happened, but if that was gonna happen, that was the perfect
best
for it to.
The best.
Oh my gosh! In 7 stitches, couldn't tell.
And I like Gina's you just came back to set that day out of pride.
Okay, so I don't know if I've talked with you about this, but I've had this problem ever since that they've announced The Mandalorian. That, and it just happened, which is why I thought about it, that anytime anyone says Gina, I think that they're talking about me. And so for a solid second, I'm so serious. I was like, no, I didn't say that because I wasn't in the episode. I would like to be. I was like, oh, no. Gina Carano. I really think everyone's talking about me.
No, I understand. I can't watch things with characters who have my name. So, I'm a big Marvel fan, and so people are like, so did you like Jessica Jones? And I'm like, I can't watch Jessica Jones. I tried watching Jessica Jones, and I got through, 1 episode, and I just couldn't handle hearing my name. And I don't like it. So I never really watched Jessica Jones on the sole basis that she has my first name.
You will never watch New Girl then.
Yeah,
ever.
I've tried. I've tried. And it's funny too, because people use the theme song. One of my buddies who streams on Twitch, he has a command where as soon as I type in chat, it plays Who's That Girl? It's Jess in the chat, which is really funny. And I really appreciate. And I love that there's a theme song for me. And I've seen a couple episodes of New Girl, and it's funny. This is no shade on New Girl, because it's funny. But I'm like, she has my name, and it makes me uncomfortable. And it doesn't help that I have an exceptionally common name for women born in the 90s. So it keeps me away from a lot of material.
Oh my gosh. And then there's me who engages. Well, I feel like, so Regina and Gina are common, but they're not common because I never meet people with my name. And then the one time I do, in a thing I'm super into, and I just always think everyone's talking about me, and I'm just like,
did
no.
you ever watch Once Upon a Time, the TV show Once Upon a Time?
No.
Oh, the evil queen in that, her name is Regina. She's a great character too. I kind of gave up on that show for a lot of reasons, but like it had a lot of great potential, and she's a fantastic character. Like she was good even when I was leaving the show. She was still really good. So like, just for the first season of Once Upon a Time is a work of art, and then after that, it goes in phases. But like, watch that first season and look at your namesake. Okay. But no, she's great. But you know, the evil queen from Snow White, her name is Regina.
Oh, that's dope. Okay, let's go. The one Disney like princess movie I've never seen.
You get to be the villain. Anyway, all of this is really relevant to
the oh, accident. So yeah.
Oh no, that story was great though. Like it was just, and it was really funny too because then later they talked about Gina's prowess and like how strong she is and stuff, and then he's like, let's talk about the other people who get these jobs.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, when I was dragging him, I was really dragging him. But when people figured out I was I'm like, oh dang, girl.
I think this episode, I mean, I feel like we knew it, but this episode just went to show how amazing this cast is and how lucky we are to be put together. You know, not all all like television shows cast like genuinely like each other.
Right.
And so I'm just like, it's really nice that you are like actually a family.
I know. So hello, Caleb and Mr. Rez. Thank you for joining us in the chat. Yeah, no, I was enjoying seeing how they're all hanging out, and like everybody has such respect for Carl, and like I've heard of Carl Weathers. I don't watch a lot of 80s movies, so like I wasn't super like I knew who he was, but I wasn't super familiar with him. And like every time he talks, I'm just like, holy wow, because like I just don't think that actors are gonna be that well read, you know. And then he's just like, what's the thing in this stuff, and I'm like, what the frick, dude.
Suddenly I want like a master class with Carl Weathers, and I want to know because I didn't know him at all. I remember everyone was like, "Oh, Rocky," and I was like, "Guys, I don't like punching movies. I've never seen Rocky. I don't think that he's in." And now I'm just like, "Well, now look at the iconic thing he's in, The Mandalorian. He's teaching me everything."
I liked the what Gina was saying, where she was like upset because she wasn't getting some line or something somewhere, and he was just like, "Happens to all of us." And I could like
which
go ahead.
I was gonna say, which you know is super super comforting for someone who's like so iconic and stuff to be like, it just happens. Like I just be like, that's all I need in life for someone like Carl Weathers, or maybe Carl Weathers to be like, you know what, Gina, it happens.
Can we just have Carl Weathers in our life to follow us around and tell us encouraging things? I would be down.
I would be down.
They need to have like an app on your phone where you can just have like, instead of Siri, it's like Carl Weathers, and you should just be like, Carl, I'm sad, and then he just like a quote.
And then they were talking about it. They were like, he's got this really really like great voice, and so it was, this is absolute the most perfect invention ever. You get the magical voice telling you everything's gonna be all right. That's all I need.
That's great. Hey Ryan, welcome. You know, that point brought up something that was really interesting in this episode, and this is the type of thing I find so interesting, is like the process of how character parts become character parts. So like he was supposed to be an alien, which I didn't know. Maybe people knew that. I didn't know that. And it kind of makes sense to go like, okay, we want an alien, so then we're going to find somebody with a distinct voice. And then we got Carl Weathers, and then to go, you know, we got Carl Weathers, but he's more than just a good voice. Like, we should have him in the show. And I always find that interesting, like when a character is like in Kara's case, like they wanted Gina, and then in Grief's case to like have the character in mind, and then have picked Carl. I think she froze on me, So 1 second. But anyway, she's. I think we're coming back.
We are coming back.
Okay, connection. Anyway, that was that's what I was just saying. Is that I just found that process interesting because I think so often we'll see discourse online where they're like, well, why would they do it this way? And I always wonder which comes first, the chicken or the egg. And like in this case, like the character came first.
Well, and so I think about that too. Even as you were like going in and out, I was like, okay, I get the gist, the majority, like the grab of this. And so you have someone as iconic as Carl, and yet and still when you go into the process, you're like, oh, they can only be 1 or 2 episodes. One of the things I was thinking about was we talked about this, I think, before, but most people, Ming-Na, and this idea that you could have someone so fantastic and so as iconic as her, and then just kill her off in 1 episode.
Right.
And then I'm on the train that she's still alive. We're going to get her in season 2 or maybe season 3 or something like that.
I mean, at this point, everybody's in season 2, so it'd be too bad if she didn't show up.
Yes. And so I do wonder about those decisions, and I like that they gave us a glimpse for at least this production. They're willing to go, let's change this, let's keep going, because I figure there are some productions where they're like, no, we said this, we're going to stick with it, and then they really thought, what's gonna move the story forward? We already know this person's good at their job, but wow, they're good at their job, let's keep them.
Yeah, and I love that too, just the idea that Grief was supposed to die in the 3rd episode, which makes sense when you don't even have the character casted yet, right? If you don't know who you're going to get, especially if you think you just might be getting a voice and it's whoever actually in the alien costume, it's easy to just kind of have that happen. But then you get this great actor who can really bring this character to life and then be willing to adjust it. Which is why I'm kind of on the train too with Fennec. Even if she was supposed to die in that episode, it's really easy to go, no, she didn't. Once people are how popular her character has been, and like people have responded to that. But I love Dave and John's story too about like that disastrous test where they're like, the Mandalorian couldn't sit down, the mask wasn't going anywhere, and Dave was so adorable because he's like afraid to like direct in front of John. Even though they're like buddies, and he's like, I loved how he's like, I could draw this so much faster.
Which, that's just as humbling as the story between Carl and Gina, because it's like, here you have Dave Filoni, who were like singing his praises, and it's all well deserved, and then he's like freaking out because this is his first time ever really doing live action and all these things. And I'm like, this episode is like a warm hug. It's very comforting, and it made me laugh, and I just loved everything. Plus, it's also really nice that you have Star Wars, and I know that there's so many discussions of, is this planned? This wasn't planned. They kind of just improvise things. And it's really nice to know that like on this big franchise set, really popular, everything riding on this television show, they're kind of like flailing their arms a little in the background, and they're like, is this gonna work? I don't know, let's find out. I feel like it's very like the spirit of Star Wars, like A New Hope. Like, is this gonna work? I don't know, let's find out.
That's fun. And what I love is that they're actually being open about it, because I think coming out of like Rogue One had last minute rewrites, Solo was completely revamped. There's all this discussion about like JJ and Ryan and Colin Trevorrow and how much did they interact, and like everything just feels so behind closed doors, and it feels like there's so much like potential drama there. It's really nice with the Mandalorian to have them go like, this is what almost didn't work, and this is where we changed our mind, and it feels like, and I get the reasons, especially like with Solo where they were probably let go. Like, I get why you don't want to like air dirty laundry, but it's just it's really refreshing to be like, no, this is what happened, and that's what's been really fun about the show.
Well, and the other thing I think of is, I can't remember if it was after Solo or after Rogue One, but I feel like a lot of, in general, podcasts and like internet, like general okay with this. Do you feel like production drama is like gonna these things? And I remember a few people just like kind of popping up and going, well, this is actually normal in the industry. You know, we lose writers, we lose directors. There's just like this like this bubble on it because it's Star Wars. And so suddenly like everyone's really, really interested, but this is normal. So like, we're fine. And so I like normalizing the fact that this is normal and we're still fine. You still gotta, like, I get why they didn't say it before, because they'll be like, it's the first live action show. What do you mean you're having all of these issues? But now that we've seen how great it is, they're just like, yeah, we had it.
It's fine, you know. And I think that's great. Caleb in the chat said, was surprised when they revealed that Pedro Pascal wasn't really in the armor that much. Seeing him dub over footage was cool. He hasn't done that much voiceover work. They didn't talk about it a lot, but I knew it wasn't him in the armor most of the time. They didn't mention it in the documentary, oddly enough, but the one guy is a descendant of John Wayne, the guy who did all the gunslinging. He's his grandfather.
Wayne,
his grandfather or great grandfather, somebody, was John Wayne, which is a really cool connection.
When they cut to him in the cowboy hat, I was like, oh, cowboy. And now you telling me that, I'm like, oh, that makes like a bunch of sense.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't say it in the documentary, but I thought that was really cool. But yeah, and I appreciated that they were open about that, and even saying like, oh yeah, you know, it really felt like it was everybody bringing this character to life instead of like trying to like hide somebody behind the curtain. Because I mean, it's not that Pedro doesn't do anything, because the voice is the big character part of the role in a lot of ways. And so I think it's cool that they're being very open about that process. And I think it's cool. I mean, like, if he doesn't know the fighting styles like the one guy does, and doesn't know the gunslinging like the other guy, like, it's cool that they're bringing in the people who can do that. And also, if he's busy doing other things, it also makes sense.
But I knew that it was really nice getting the names of the individuals. So like Lateef Crowder and all those things, and seeing the things that they can do and which aspect, you know, was which. So I vaguely knew about it, like either before or as I watched the series, I think. And to me, it's still seamless, which is why I like that they asked the question, like, could you tell? I can't tell.
I can't tell.
I think that there is not like a stigma, that's the wrong word, but I think there's this weird idea that it's cooler, I think, if the actors do their own stunts, etc., which it definitely is, especially if you have someone like Gina Carano, like hearing her stories and her background as a fighter, it makes it everything. And so I'm not discounting that.
Right.
But I feel like sometimes we look at like how actors are, and we think, oh, they have to be the one that does it. And so I really think that, as someone who appreciates stunt workers, I really, really like it when they're like, oh no, someone else did this, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's, you know, they're working just as hard, and they deserve the appreciation, especially because you then don't get to see their face. So it feels nice to include them and be like, hey, you know. And it'd be fun to see them get like cameos, like even if it's just like background bar patrons or something, just some other person, just so they can have their face on screen. But I thought that was really cool. Oh, Caleb again saying, if we get to do another animated show, I'd love to see Pedro ride on and strut his stuff voice acting. Yeah, either again as Mando or just in general. I think that'd be great, because I think with Mando, so much of his character is in restraint. And like they had some really good talks about like masks and stuff, but like so much of the Mandalorian is in underplaying the character, and so I love that, but I'm looking forward to a day where they get to stretch out a little bit beyond that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and part of me thinks it's because they've set up this scenario in the show where it's like, oh, so many people haven't seen a Mandalorian in a long time, so they're built up a specific way in people's minds. And so is our Mandalorian going to like be the same as that expectation, or is he gonna go against that expectation?
Right.
And then they also, one of the things that I thought was so interesting was Bryce Dallas Howard's phrasing.
Yeah.
When she's like, and so our Mandalorian, you know, has his feelings about removing his helmet, and our Mandalorian believes this. And so I'm just like, so we're recognizing that not all Mandalorians are like this, and what's going to happen in the next season, etc.
I really appreciated that sentence. It was a really great way to say, like, this is how he sees it, and it left that nice back door open for all of us. Solo Pirates in the chat. Solo Pirates, a longtime buddy of mine. I hope you're doing well. He was saying that he's loving the roundtable discussions, but doesn't want too much of the magic revealed, which I think is fair. I don't think they've overdone it though.
I don't, but that's only because I'm really forgetful about things. And so I'm very much one of those people who can watch behind the scenes like docs and things.
Yeah.
And then watch it and just be like, because I like just like I don't like, I remember, but I don't remember like at all. So I'm just like, yeah, that's real. That's real to me.
Okay. And then Caleb saying, just wondering if they'll dub over Ahsoka if they actually bring her in like they did for Maul. Fine if they don't, but I think it'd be fun. I think it depends on how much. First of all, if Ahsoka is actually there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we'll see. I've been really reticent to comment on anything until like a lot of these rumors are probably true because of the sources they're coming from, but I'm like, yeah, I'm still gonna wait for Lucasfilm. But like, I think it depends on how much they try to do like practical and how much they would make her CGI. Because like if she is animated, then I think it's pretty easy to dub her over. But like if you have an actress with prosthetics on and then you're slapping on Ashley's voice, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but I'm apprehensive about how they would do live action Ahsoka anyway. And that's to say that I'm against it, but I'm like, I need to see it to know how I feel about it. I need it done well. If it's done well, I'm happy. I'm just afraid of it. But like I'd love it if it's done well, I guess is how I'd say.
I would also say I would love it if it was done well. I fall in multiple different camps, you know, because it's like if anyone other than Ashley Eckstein plays Ahsoka, that's going to be like low-key weird because she's just been Ahsoka for so long.
Yep.
But at the same time, I could see like her voice over whoever the actress is, like that dub being like cartoony and kind of like not cartoony in a bad way. I know that people see the animated things as weird, but like I could see it taking me out of like the story or anything happening. So I do agree. I mean, or could not. I've never seen it done like happen before, so I defer to the people who know it best. But yeah, all of these casting announcements have been so weird for me. Especially as someone who likes the surprise. And then as someone who like 2 or 3 weeks ago was like, I don't want anyone from other things who are super popular in things. Like I was like, I don't want this. And then all these announcements came out and I had people legitimately texting me just like, I'm so sorry, Gina. And I was like, I'll roll with it as it comes. Okay.
I think for me, the one that I really do hope is true is that if they get Bo-Katan, I do really like. I would really love it if it's Katie Sackhoff who gets to play her in live action, because that would be amazing. But otherwise, I don't know. What I think is hilarious is there's all of these announcements for season 2, and I apologize if I've said this on stream before, but like there's all of these announcements, but then like Baby Yoda was kept a secret. Like I think there was a leak that some people knew there was going to be a kid, and like that got leaked, but that it being a Baby Yoda, nothing. Like somehow I like to think there's some sacredness, and people knew like you can't talk about this. Like that didn't get leaked, and then now it's like here's the entire cast of season 2 of Mandalorian. Nothing else is sacred, only Baby Yoda.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally, I'm surprised that if Boba Fett's in it, which, you know, we have all these things, that he also wasn't treated with that much like, I feel like that would have been one of those things that was a secret or something like that. But I guess not. Well,
and it makes me wonder, like, in like maybe some of these things are larger roles, which is why it's easier for her to get out, or some of it could just literally be cameos, which is why it's not as closely guarded, because it's literally just there to go, hey. But we'll see. But I mean, like I said, I'm excited. I have a feeling that not all of these are true, and some of them are, and it's just going to be a question of which ones ended up being correct and which ones ended up not being correct. But but we'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was going to say was I think about all these different interviews I'm hearing and things that Dave and John say. And I think one thing is for sure is they're both very protective of and invested in the lore of Star Wars. And I think that above all, they're just going to want to tell a good story. And so no matter what happens, or no matter like what kind of feelings I have about, you know, actors playing who, or who gets to be a cameo, who gets to be a larger role, I feel pretty confident that we're going to get a good story. And at the end of the day, what I really want. So
I completely agree with that. Solo asks, is Tamara going to be Boba, or could it be an old clone? What has been confirmed? Technically, nothing has been confirmed.
It's true.
Because technically his involvement at all is still just a highly likely rumor, because nothing has been said by Lucasfilm. Everyone jumped to the conclusion of Boba Fett because of Jango Fett. Other people are thinking Rex because of the Ahsoka rumors, and that we could see Rex and Ahsoka hanging out.
Or it could be both. We don't know.
Both. He could be playing multiple characters, so there's a couple different ways this could go. And we'll see. And I think it's my thing with the Ahsoka rumors is I still feel like Dave will probably want to keep her story for whatever the Rebels sequel. And whether the current rumors of Rebels sequels are true or not, we're going to get that story at some point. There's no way Dave Filoni sits on that forever. So
yeah.
And I think he's probably going to be happier in animation. Mr. S says Boba died. I'm like, that's never stopped other characters before.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, you saw the Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, we all thought Maul was dead, and then we got a really good, like, bunches of arcs.
Yep.
So,
but I mean, it is technically true. In current canon, it was assumed that Boba did die in the Sarlacc, but it was never confirmed, like, in a like super long story plot or anything. So that's something they could easily undo. Caleb says, exactly like how the Stranger Things actors are getting cast in other franchises solely to fit the kid role. The Finn Wolfhard or Millie Brown. Yeah, she's been in like Finn has been in like so many things. He's saying that they're going to be in Percy Jackson. And Mr. S says, Mr. S says no one has ever truly gone except for Boba Fett.
Okay, well, you almost got my soapbox on Percy Jackson, because that's my childhood. That's my whole childhood. So we will table that for another day, a whole nother channel stream. I have feelings.
I can't speak intelligently on it at all. So.
Oh, go ahead.
I said I can't speak intelligently at all on that, so I would just defer to you in whatever you had to say. Oh no, she froze. She froze as I was deferring. I was just saying I haven't read the book, so I would defer to your opinions.
Okay, you broke up there. I was like, what's happening? No. Everyone should read them if I could suggest anything. But what I was going to say is I defer to my mother's once you see a body, and even if you see a body, it could be the twin that no one knew about. So everyone's technically alive.
Soap opera rule supply, especially in Star Wars. Yeah. Oh man. So we were talking about some of the we were talking a little bit about some of the cool quotes that they were talking about, and you mentioned Bryce's quote about he subscribes to the notion he can't take his mask off. And there was one point who was talking about it. I don't have who asked the question, maybe it was Bryce, but it was this idea of like, can he take the mask off and can he be at peace? And I was thinking a lot about it must have been her, because it really came up in the 4th episode. And I'm really curious where they're going to take the mask, because you can either have it be this burden that he overcomes and learns that he doesn't need it, but at the same time, I also like the conviction of, this is a thing I believe in, and I'm going to wear my mask. And I'm really curious where the show goes, and if is the ultimate payoff that he does learn to live without the helmet, or is the ultimate payoff that he learns that he can take it off and put it back on again, and like, that's fine.
Yeah. Because when I think of Star Wars, and I think of, and granted, this is also probably my bias.
Fair.
But when I think of Star Wars and I think of masks, the first two characters I think of, are Darth Vader and Kylo Ren.
Yes.
When I think of Darth Vader, I'm just like, oh, well, you needed this to breathe because lava. And when I think of Kylo Ren, I think, oh, you did this because you're trying to be someone that you're not.
Right.
And so for me, like, granted, I know other people in Star Wars have worn masks and things, but because of the level of popularity and story with those two, for me, there's like a connotation written within what it means to wear a mask. And so when I first saw this show, and especially when I first saw that episode, my was well, okay, there's more episodes, so you're not going to get this taken off, but the end goal is, take off this mask, finally rest.
Right.
But I am very, very much interested in this idea of, this is an idea that's been presented for me for so long, how I've interpreted masks. You finally take off, it gets you through things, but now you don't need it anymore. To what does it mean for someone to say, no, but this is important to me, I very much still want to wear it, and I can still rest.
Right.
And so this show, I think, has subverted so many of my expectations that it would be interesting for it to end, or in some kind of way convey this thought of, no, you can still wear it and still be fine and at peace. And so I'm interested in both ways.
Yeah, and I completely agree with what you're saying about, especially with Kylo/Ben, is the mask was very much a metaphor for him and his character. And to that extent that they're even talking about the mask with Din, makes me think that they're using it in a similar way. I just think it's interesting when you come to something like a Mandalorian, because in their case, their armor is a part of their religion. And I mean, even if we look in Rebels, Sabine had her armor, and nobody was like, well, Sabine needs to not need her armor someday. Her armor was really cool. She should always wear that armor because she made it really cool looking. And so I think I'm just kind of curious of where they would ultimately take it. Because I think they could take, I'm kind of hoping for he learns that he can take the helmet off and put it back on sort of thing. I don't really want him to stop being a Mandalorian. Like, I hope the end of this is that he's not giving up on being a Mandalorian, but I hope he is giving up on the feeling like he needs to hide who he is part. But we'll see.
Yes.
I
need that.
Oh, go ahead. No, it's fine.
I was just going to say, I need that for story reasons, because that's a really good arc, and I also need that so I can stare at Pedro.
I mean, that's only fair. I was going to ask, which character do you think will, like, non-droid character, do you think we'll see him without the mask first?
I want it to be Baby Yoda.
Same.
I mean, that's just that whole family mentality.
They're father and son. It should be okay.
Yeah. And I want it to be like this little quiet moment where it's like, oh, now I'm just, okay, well, I have a whole fan fiction now, just from that written in my head.
He said he should be sitting there eating with it off like he was in the 4th episode, and like Baby Yoda comes up and like sneaks up like he does and like puts it on, and he's like, no. And then he's just like rolling around in the helmet, like.
We have ideas, Dave Filoni. Contact.
When we're done writing the Yoda Mace Windu buddy cop movie, we'll work on this.
Yes.
Oh man. I liked the comment that, I can't remember who said it, but it was said of Kathleen Kennedy, where Kathleen Kennedy had the line of like, everybody in Star Wars is a silhouette.
Oh yeah.
And I never thought about it that way, but she's absolutely correct. Like, you can just see how a Star Wars character is standing, even if they're two people of the same species, two humans, two whatever, and you would go, that's that character. I know exactly who that is just by, it blew my mind. Like, I love it when something about Star Wars can still blow my mind at such like a base level. And I was like, she's right. She's dang right.
I never thought that before, and then I went back through. I was like, catalog of characters, probably like everyone else, and I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, you see, you know who they are. And then one of the things I never thought of was, so individuals who were in the Mandalorian panel got like these posters, and I thought about it because one of my friends like gave me hers, and I was like, this poster is kind of like dark. Like the Mandalorian standing there in the door, and I was like, why? And then later when she said that line, I was like, oh, it's like a silhouette. It's a whole thing. It's connected. And so I had never thought and I think part of that is what lends itself to what makes characters iconic in Star Wars.
Yeah, is they have this look. You can just know exactly who they are, what you're talking about. I think that's great. I think that's so, and now I'm even thinking about it, how much Star Wars art out there is just silhouettes.
Yeah. One thing I didn't know, just like we didn't know that Carl was, or rather Grief was only supposed to be like in 2 episodes, was that Gina got a phone call and not an audition. And I was just like, okay, this makes me really, really happy because I saw Deadpool, but I didn't really know who she was. And so The Mandalorian is the first time I was like, oh, here's a face. Oh, that's Gina Carano's face. And so, especially because she was like kind of joking, she was like, because I'm not that great at auditions yet. I was like, what do you mean you're not great at auditions? You're great.
How do you not be great at auditions? That's wonderful.
And so I was like, I'm really happy they gave you a phone call.
They're like, no, you're just who we wanted. And like, her character is so great. And I like that she said she felt like she was really playing herself. Just because I liked that character was so wonderful. And it explains how genuine the character feels. Sorry, we keep phasing in and out of realities with each other.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. I also liked to talk about something that your boy said right at the top, is talking about how so much of Star Wars is the relationship between characters. And
yes,
that was again very spot on, I think. And like I did a poll from our site's account. I don't remember how the numbers broke down, but I did. It's like, what do you like like what relationship type do you like most in Star Wars? Do you like romantic relationships, family relationships, found family type and friendships, or like student teacher relationships? Like, what resonates with you? I got a lot of I'd like it to be romantic, but none of them are happy responses, which is fair. Some of them are happy, but it's a mostly fair comment.
Yeah.
So I took it that one would probably have been higher. I think friendship, found family ended up winning. But I voted for like my iconic relationship in Star Wars is Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Like, I'm really here for the student teacher type relationships. But like, when you think about it, I feel like so much of how you feel about Star Wars does come from that perception. I don't mean to get discoursey, and I don't want to make this about other things, but I find it fascinating just from an objective standpoint, talking to people and how they read the sequel trilogy, and people who are like, Reylo was the story, and then people who are like, Reylo was a story among many stories. And I don't want to get into which one's right or wrong in that, but I find it fascinating because depending on how you look at that, it would completely change how you would read the sequel trilogy and how happy you are with the sequel trilogy. I'm struggling to really make the point I'm trying to make because I don't know quite what the words are, but like I do find that interesting how much relationships define how we view Star Wars.
Well, okay, so you went in and out there for a second, but my catchphrase is now, I think I got the gist. So I'm pretty sure I also voted in that poll, and I think I voted for Found Family. Although I like them all.
Yeah.
And I was listening, was it today? I don't know when it is, but I was listening to Sky Talkers and they had Vanessa Marshall on.
Oh.
And so one of the things that they were talking about was family, and because, you know, the Ghost Crew is such a really great example of found family.
Yeah.
And so at one point they were having their discussion about canon family, and then it like divulged into how they relate to that personally. And someone made the comment that's like, we were going to keep it, you know, straight up in canon family, but I'm glad you like delved into personal, because there's no other way you can do it. And so I think that makes complete sense, because no matter what kind of life you've led, I feel like for most Star Wars fans, there's some kind of relational aspect in your real life that is anchored to some kind of relational aspect or pairing or group of people in Star Wars. And I don't think you can separate those. And I think maybe most people don't even realize that they formed that kind of attachment from personal life into it.
Right.
And for me, like I've told the story multiple times, but like I got into Star Wars because of my dad, and I've shared it with my friends and things. And so it's probably why, even though I liked all those options you presented, I voted for Found Family, because that's my personal anchor and connection in Star Wars. And so it's nice whenever the cast and the crew are just like, yeah, we also see this. We're validating that, yeah, you're completely seeing the right things. And then we also take all those feelings that you're feeling, because we're feeling it. That's how we make this really, really good story or product that you like.
I think that's what keeps Star Wars. I mean, it's really what resonates. I mean, what you're talking about, like how you got into it because of your dad. Like, because Star Wars has been around so long, it's become this multi-generational thing. But I think because Star Wars has kind of always been about generations, like even in A New Hope, when I'm not convinced that Lucas actually knew everything that he wanted to do for the rest of that trilogy, but like we already knew that Luke wanted to be like his father, and we already knew that Obi-Wan was this father-like figure, and you already had this new generation discovering an old generation. And then with Empire, it did become about family. And then we go to the prequel trilogy, and it, you know, we're seeing a different generation. And we go to the sequels, and I think that's something that's maybe is it. I mean, it's not unique to Star Wars, but I feel like Star Wars really taps into it well, and it. I think it's what grounds it, because Star Wars is weird. I talk about that a lot. Like, it's really weird when you think about it. Like, I was tweeting this morning, not unusual, but I was tweeting this morning about Yoda. And like, when you think about it, he's a 2-foot tall gremlin who talks backwards. Like, what is he? Like, who thought of him up? Like, any other movie, he would actually be terrifying. Like, he would be the scary troll under the bridge. And instead, he's like, your teacher I am. And like, what is that? Like, what is it? Why is he there? What's going on? And like, the only way to make that make sense is if he's really like your nice grandpa who happens to be green. And like, the only way Star Wars makes sense. And so I like that there's this intense thing that we can all tap into, whether it's family or romance or friendship or a mentor relationship, because everybody has a different walk in life, and everybody has had a different environment and is more not attracted in like a romantic attracted, but like we're more drawn to certain things. And Star Wars kind of has all of them. But then it's this very real thing. But then, what the heck is it? Like, I always say, like, I was sold on Solo the moment I saw the giant space octopus. I didn't know what it was doing there. I didn't know what it was about. I just knew there was a space octopus, and I was gonna love Solo. Like, that's all I needed.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And well, as you were going, one of the things I thought about was, even when people get tired of like Twitter in general, not just Star Wars Twitter, but social media, everyone, at least I see, is like, but it brought me all of you guys. So I'm still here. and that makes sense. Star Wars Twitter in general, just it brought us all together, and that's why we're still here.
There's so many reasons why I like so many days I've almost just been like, why am I on Twitter? It's an addiction and it's a problem that I need to get rid of. And I'm like, but then I would literally never talk to these people again. So I have to stay.
One of the things that Carl Weathers said that I love that he said, and I love that that's how he approached his character, and I've noticed other people saying it, was, I don't know his exact words, but he said he never approached Grief like he was a bad guy.
Right.
He's just flawed. Right. And I have found that that is one of my, anytime anyone plays someone who's like an anti-hero, supposed to be the bad guy, etc., who like has these gray areas, and he's approached just like a bad guy, I was always just like, oh my goodness, that's the sentence I need to hear. Because whether you, and most of the times I personally end up agreeing with them because I end up liking the bad guys.
Right.
But it's really nice to know that, because everyone thinks they're, you know, the hero in their own story. I don't think anyone sets out to be like, I am the villain.
Right.
I'm ruining. And so I think that makes a more interesting and complex story, especially when it comes to things like motives. So I was really happy to hear him say that.
Well, especially for characters like Grief or, say, Kylo Ben, who are supposed to be conflicted, and you're supposed to feel that and root for that. And maybe if Grief was going to stay the alien who died in the 3rd episode, you know, we wouldn't have needed that. But if he's going to stay alive and become this person who's going to carry on his story into a 2nd season, you know, then you want that. But then, like, versus, like, I agree with you. I don't think any villain sees himself as a villain. But then I think there's some characters, like, if you look at Palpatine, like, he doesn't, I mean, like, I feel like Ian McDiarmid is not on the set of any Star Wars movie like, yeah, Palpatine's just a guy with flaws. He's like, no, look, I am the Emperor of the galaxy, and you're going to follow me because I rule you. And, like, but I mean, I also say that you can't really compare anything to Palpatine, because Palpatine's the space devil. Like, that's who he's the space devil. He's supposed to be the space devil. I always call Yoda the space pope. So, like, when I watch Revenge of the Sith and I watch that fight, I'm like, it's the space pope versus the space devil. Yoda's the space pope.
I mean, speaking of family, it's so funny that you call him the space devil, because I just call him Uncle Palpy. And I know that other people do that, and I know other people just call him Palpy. And I thought I made it up until other people too call him that. And so I guess my uncle is just
the space devil.
There's no one like him.
Everyone has that uncle they don't want to talk to at Thanksgiving, and sometimes it's a space devil.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the thing too. So I think sometimes there's room for, like, that melodramatic. Like, I get why this might bother people, but I love people have pointed out that Palpatine, when he, like, sucks the dyad powers out of Rey and Ben, he, like, his clothes change. And, like, before he's in, like, all black robes, and then he gets his power, and then suddenly he has, like, red cloth on, and I'm like, it makes no sense, and I don't even care. Palpatine is such a drama queen.
Right? If anyone's going to be dramatic in that moment, it's Palpatine.
I choose to believe that the real war in Star Wars is to see who can actually be the most extra person in all of the galaxy. And it's just to be, and, like, at the end of the day, the reason why it comes down to the Palpatines versus the Skywalkers is because they are the most extra people in all of the galaxy, and there has to be a showdown. We have to know which family is the most extra, or what was it all for? And that's what I see.
I mean, it's really hilarious because I absolutely 100% agree. But as soon as you said who's the most dramatic, I had this mental image of Obi-Wan just, like, throwing off his coat.
Don't forget about the Kenobis.
And I was like, okay, Obi-Wan, that's what we're doing right now.
I used to make fun of that all the time. You just watch Obi-Wan in the prequels, and he's like, I'm taking my robe off. I'm taking my robe off. It's like, okay, Obi-Wan.
You thought Star Wars was about relationships between characters. You were all wrong. It's about being dramatic.
You have to be dramatic. As one of my friends on Twitter was pointing out, like the age of comics, like the Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance, like everybody on those covers is in such a weird contorted position, but they're just so dramatic. They're like, yes, I am, this is my comic book, this is how I stand. It's so good.
Oh my gosh, those are now the comics. Those are the first Star Wars comics I'm gonna read now.
just for the covers where they're all like, and it's like any of the ones with the Skywalkers, they're all like,
that's how you know someone's a Skywalker.
Because they're just that dramatic all of the time.
Oh my gosh, now I'm thinking about that moment in like Return of the Jedi when for a second Han thinks that like Leia's into Luke and she's just like, no, it's my brother. And I'm just like, why did you tell him like this? You're so dramatic. And on Padme's outfits alone, drama.
So much. All of Star Wars is just like, and like one of the Yoda tweets I had this morning was a gif of him when he's like activating his lightsaber in Revenge of the Sith, and I was like, people really act like he doesn't have the most swagger in all of Star Wars. Is it because it's just Yoda? Like, I didn't end your rule. It's not short enough. It was. Where's this coming from, Yoda? He's like, you don't have anything to say about it. I have. And he like pushes him over the chair, which is one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars because it's so stupid. The space pope just force pushed the space devil over his office chair, and I'm here for it.
Do you know what I need from you? I need you to not watch Star Wars for like 3 months and then just by hand rewrite Star Wars, but with your names for everyone. And I need you to sell it as a book. It just has to be everything you remember. You can't have watched them recently.
Right, yeah. Just tell the story. That'd be good future Patreon content if I ever started one up. Like me just retelling Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
So then Yoda shows up. But every story will just be 85% more about Yoda because that's how
it's true. Especially once we get our planet of Yodas.
Yes, the Yoda planet. If I don't get a Yoda planet, I am leaving the fandom. What was
everything takes place
what was it for? What were these 9 Skywalker saga movies, the anthology films, the TV? What was any of it? What is any of this for if I don't get a Yoda planet? It was all a waste without the Yoda planet.
And both Dave and John are secretly watching this stream just wait till we get season 2.
They'd be like, she's gonna be disappointed in season 2, but season 3, all the Yoda planet. It's only on the Yoda planet. We're gonna get her. She's gonna get all mad because it's not gonna show up in the second season at all. But then, just a whole season of the Yoda.
I feel like as individuals who both have glasses, I think it's important to note that Pedro has multiple glasses that we got to see in this episode. And I saw someone tweet, why does this man have so many glasses? And he replied, he keeps losing his glasses. And I have never related to a celebrity more. And in that moment, he kept losing them.
That's amazing.
I have like 2 extra pairs for that reason.
I love that so much. That makes me so happy. I get so happy when like good people get in Star Wars. Like I'm just like, you should be here because you're just as happy about it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I still loved his reaction on the Mando panel to like when he found out he got the job.
Honestly, sometimes I just go back and rewatch that. It's such a good reaction.
Yeah.
And the fact that I honestly believe he was like, so I'll be anyone. Who do you want me to be? And like,
yeah. So if you guys haven't seen it, he literally was like, he thought he was just being called in by like some buds to be like a background alien or something. And they're like, no, we want you to like be the Mandalorian. And he just like breaks down on stage. It's like,
it is the very definition of soft.
yep,
He's like off cinnamon roll in
yep,
that moment.
yep. I was like, he deserves to be there 100%, and I'm
Yep.
so happy. I get outlandishly happy when people who are like super fans are like they get to do it now.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Same.
Oh man. Let's see, because what else did they talk? It was really just the three. Yeah, really just the three actors we heard from. I was surprised they didn't have Taika back in, but I guess they figured because he was on the director panel, they weren't going to have him back in, even though he was in 3 episodes, and they didn't talk really about Nick Nolte or the person who was in the suit for Queel.
Do you know, I could see that being like a puppeteering special effects kind of.
Oh, that's true.
Episode.
I was gonna tell you, I've been horrible about checking our comment section lately. I don't know why. I've had this weird mental block, and we have no rude people in our comment section, and so I don't know why I've been weird about this, but whatever. One of my favorite people who leaves us a comment all the time, Aunt Vesuvi, she apparently knows because she left a comment back on her first one and said that the second one was going to be legacy, third one was going to be cast, 4 is going to be technology, 5 is going to be practical, and we don't know anything else after that. And you froze, so I think you might not have heard everything I just said.
The stream would break up the moment you were telling me these things.
So she was correct about legacy and cast, and so then 4 is technology and 5 is practical, and we don't know anything else after that.
Okay.
So we are going into special effects next, according to my top source, Aunt Vesuvi, who I believe entirely. So
thank you for that. So does that mean, do you think we're gonna get Baby Yoda in one of those episodes, or are we gonna get a whole episode dedicated to Baby Yoda?
I still want a whole episode dedicated to Baby Yoda, but I feel like he'd probably go. Technology is probably going to be how they did the backgrounds, right? Because it was like so much of that was in a studio, and they had like a really short, like 3-minute thing on it. And so I'm assuming they'll do like a full thing on how it worked, which would be really cool. Practical, I would assume we'll get Baby Yoda in that one, because he's famously a puppet because of Werner Herzog calling them cowards for wanting to make him CGI.
I hope this also means we get Taika, since he's IG. I want more Taika. I love everyone, but I want more Taika.
Well, Taika is just always fun. Just wait for the special features for his movie. I think I'm more excited for the special features for his movie, and I'm excited for his movie. Don't take this as a comment that I'm not excited for his movie, but I'm more excited for the special features where he just talks about his movie.
Yes. We talked about this a little bit when we were talking about this idea of having the mask on. Yeah. But I remember when we were talking about directors, I said that I wanted them to talk about directing Pedro and then anyone else who's, wearing the armor. Yeah. What was that like? And so I just wanted to point out that I was really happy that Deborah Chow went into that. And she was like, it's about the stillness. Yep. And then I was like, you're right. But you knew you were right because you're Deborah Chow. But you're right. It really is about. So I was really happy that we did end up getting that discussion since I asked for it this episode.
So they heard you and then they edited it back in. They called up Deborah Chow, like, Deb, you got to come back. We got to get a quote from you. No,
that's actually like. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to change. So go ahead. Or she could freeze for a hot second.
We're back.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's actually super unsettling if they ever actually heard me, because then I just have to hide from Pedro for the rest of my life.
That's fair. No, anytime Deborah Chow talks, I'm filled with equal parts glee and sadness at the fact that she probably won't be working on The Mandalorian much, but it's because she's working on Kenobi.
But I also can't help but feel, because they have this, lean on each other directors thing, that she's left such a lasting impression. Like, I wish she could be there, but I'm also glad she's working on Kenobi. But also, they're going to do things and be like, oh, Deborah has a solution. Just call up Deborah Chow and have her do, like what does she think? And so,
I'd like to think that that's still a thing. And like, I would love to see this like community that they have on just this one show, like translate into work. Because we're always talking about like, oh, our character's going to show up over multiple shows, but like crew absolutely can. And it would be cool to see that kind of sharing of ideas and styles between the shows and have directors hop around. So we'll see. I think there's good things ahead. This makes me feel really good about the people they have working on the show.
Yes, definitely. I bet you they have a group chat. I bet you they just do little funny anecdotes and memes and also tips on how to direct things all up in the group chat.
I before we knew what High Republic was, when it was just Project Luminous, the authors were all tweeting about something, and I responded to one of them, and I was like, I like to think that you guys have a group chat where you just share memes with each other. And I'm pretty sure it was Charles Soule who like quote tweeted me. He's like, it's real and it's great. And I'm like, yes, that makes me so happy. There is.
I don't know what it is about group chats, but anytime any television production or movie people are like, yeah, there's a group chat and we're still active, I'm just like, the group chat. Yes.
Just anytime people can just share some memes, that's how you know. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on this episode?
No. As long as everyone knows that Pedro was holding a pillow pretending that was Baby Yoda, and that's really good dedication.
I mean, that's the thumbnail, and I'm pretty sure it's everyone's thumbnail. But I mean, it was the best moment for sure.
It really, really was. But other than that, I think I was gonna say this was my favorite episode, but I can't say that because I've just loved every single moment of having this series. So they've all been my favorite episodes so far.
I think this had like the funnest, wacky stories. Like, as much as there was really good insight, I feel like this was also just the most, like, I felt like I got to know people, whereas the other ones were like, here's a deep theoretical talk about the duel of the fates, which is great, but it's also like, there I feel like I'm like sitting in a fount of knowledge and not like listening to a bunch of friends talk. I felt this one ended really abruptly, but
oh yes, I did feel that. I don't know why, but I was just like, oh, it's over now. I don't want it to be over, but it's over. One of the things that I just thought of just now is I feel like, I guess maybe us talking about this kind of reflects the way that the docu-series is, in a way that I like that it's very much about the Mandalorian, but also it's very much not about the Mandalorian.
That's fair.
And when they go off on other things. And then I was like us.
Where we just do tangents about hearing our names in movies. But I think that helps it helps with the show too. I think when they're not so insular and like, I mean, it goes back to that thing that Taika said in the first one. It's like it can't take itself too seriously, but it has to believe in itself. And so I think that's, I mean, that sentence blew me out of the water because I feel like that's Star Wars to a T. But yeah, no, I really like seeing all that.
Yep, same.
All right. Well, I think that's what I have for this week. We'll see how the schedule of things goes this week. Last week I didn't do a KOTOR stream. I will try to do one this week. I just had a rough week last week, and then we'll try for Friday.
We'll try. We'll see if this becomes a pattern, or was this all a coincidence?
Yep, because if we do Friday, then we'll be like 50-50.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what happens. But the best way to follow what's going on is to be in our Discord, which there's a link to that in the chat. Or when I remember, I'll put stuff on Twitter. But as always, Gina, it was wonderful having you here to have this discussion. So thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. and I will talk to you all soon. Ta-ta!